For starters, I'm a single father of a 14-year-old teenager. His mother unfortunately passed away during childbirth, and so I was left with my biggest sorrow and joy at once. Raising him all alone has been quite the task, but I've received a lot of help and pointers from both my parents and my late wife's parents. Jason is a good kid. He has good grades, is respectful and understanding, and doesn't try to make my life living hell, like I hear some other parents of teenagers explain. One persistent problem throughout his life has been sleep. He has always had difficulties with sleep. First when he was just a baby, then a preschool kid, school, and even now a teenager, experiencing the exact same problems. We've been to the doctors and they told us he has insomnia, and I believed it, until recently. He came into my room at around midnight 3 weeks ago and woke me up, although I wasn't actually sleeping yet. "Dad, I can't sleep," he said, and he looked scared, almost terrified. I could tell by his faint shaking and the way he held himself. "What's wrong, buddy?" I asked him, and he glanced at the now shut door and flinched. "It's just..." He was tapping his fingers on his crossed arms. He didn't look embarrassed or afraid to tell me like he had been numerous times before, when he broke something or misbehaved. This time he looked almost confused, unable to formulate the words. "There's always a dark figure in my room, just watching me while I sleep. I can feel his eyes on me." His voice was shaky. I could see the tears forming in his eyes. He was completely terrified, and he fell right into my arms, starting to sob. Now normally any parent would just believe it to be a bad dream, but I thought of the worst, that there's an intruder. After he calmed down enough, I told him that I'd go look in his room and check. So, like in horror movie fashion, I picked up a large kitchen knife and tiptoed all throughout the apartment, seeing if there are any intruders or evidence of a break-in. And in the end I found nothing. Peculiarly though, his closet door was cracked open. As I was walking back to my bedroom, I heard him scream my name and I ran inside with my knife at the ready. "He was here!" Jason was pointing his finger to the darkest corner of the room, sobbing uncontrollably. In the end, I found no one and nothing, and he slept with me that night. This thing kept occurring every other day, where Jason would come to my room and just shake, and every single time he'd say that this dark thing is stalking him, getting closer each night. By the end of the week, he'd just sneak into my bed by himself without waking me, and I'd find him there in the morning. 2 weeks ago, I ordered a cheap set of simple security cameras and put them up around the apartment while he was at school, including one in his room. Yes, I know teenager privacy matters and I really shouldn't put cameras around the apartment, let alone his room, but I needed to get to the bottom of this thing that's happening, and I planned on taking them down after a week or two. The next morning I found Jason huddled up next to me in my bed again. It was a Saturday, so I had no work and quietly slid out of bed as to not wake him, and made a coffee while turning on the laptop. I shuffled through the cameras and the recorded footage. The quality wasn't the best, but the cameras were cheap, so what did I expect? Jason's room was mostly quiet at night. From the moment he got into bed until the moment he got out and came to my room, he didn't move once. Not a single moment. I tried enhancing the footage, making it brighter to see the darkest corners of the room, but it was still too dark. When I rewatched the sped up footage for the third time, I finally noticed something. While Jason was in his bed, his closet was closed, and shortly after he left, his closet cracked open just slightly. I found the exact moment it happened, around 2 minutes after he left. I slowed down the footage, and the closet fucking opened by itself. Even I was freaked out now. I went on Amazon right away and ordered night vision cameras, which cost a small fortune. The next 2 days I continued observing the footage. The second night, Jason never came to my room, and he never moved from his sleeping position until I woke him. His closet also remained shut on the second day. However, during the first day after he left, it cracked open again shortly after. Once the new cameras arrived, I installed them in his room again and rewatched the footage the following morning. Jason stayed up very late that night, almost to 2 AM, and he never went to bed in his room. He came straight to mine. This time I watched the closet with such intensity that I thought even I could open it just by thinking about it, and sure enough, 2 or 3 minutes later, it cracked open. I zoomed in as much as possible and slowed down the footage, and that's when I saw it. A shadow moved across the room in a split second and past the closet, and the next split second the closet cracked open. I slowed it down even more, rewatched it again and again. I couldn't make out the figure. It was simply a blob of a shadow. I sighed and went to my room to wake up Jason. Those last days I had to wake him up because he'd sleep in for as long as he could. And even after sleeping for 12 plus hours, he'd still look tired, bags under his eyes. The next night was the last night Jason was awake. I woke up with him sleeping beside me, as was usual these past few weeks. I slipped out quietly, not that it mattered, and went on with my morning routine of coffee and watching the footage. He stayed up late again, 3 a.m. I considered scolding him for staying up so late on a school night as I shifted through the footage. Strangely though, the closet door never cracked open during the entire night. I coincidentally decided to look through the old cameras that were still set up everywhere else, including my room. Clear as day, a shadow of a skeletal hand hovering right above my son on the wall behind him, the entire fucking night. I ran to my room and tried to wake him gently as I did every morning, but he didn't budge. Then I tried violence. I shaked him and screamed at him to wake up. He didn't. I called the ambulance, having nothing else left to do. He was diagnosed in a coma. I kept watching those recordings again and again, dating back weeks ago, and I found something even more horrifying. Every night as Jason came to my room to sleep, the shadow followed him. I watched through multiple cameras as the shadow sped through his room to the hallway, to the kitchen, and then into mine, all within a couple of seconds. And then, there, in my room, it loomed right over him, getting closer and closer every night. I didn't know how to describe it. It's unlike anything I've seen before. A shadow, but so dark, so black that the darkness of the room illuminated it in a strange way. This brings me to last week's and today's events. I, too, have started feeling a presence. I, too, have started seeing the shadow looming at the corner of my eye. And I, too, have started having it inching closer to me as I sleep every single night. I frantically put together a timeline today, and judging by it, today is the last day I'll be able to wake up on my own. Which means, unless I'm awoken tomorrow, I won't wake up again. I drove to my parents' house today, and I'm going to spend the night here. They have very specific instructions to wake me. I want to see if this thing will follow me all the way here too. And I still need to figure out how to wake up my son and figure out what this thing did to him. Part 2. My name is Matt. Please remember it. The last 12 hours have been a total roller coaster of emotions, and I haven't been able to eat. And I haven't been able to have even a second of sleep for the last 18, ever since I woke up. Let me begin where I left off last time, my parents' house. I never once tried explaining to them what I had seen or experienced. I knew they wouldn't understand. They wouldn't even try to understand. They were always big skeptics of the unknown, always thinking there's a logical explanation to everything, and in this case there was one too, even if there wasn't. My parents woke me up at 1 p.m. They thought I'd wake up by myself, but I didn't. I startled awake to my father's worried face peering down into my eyes. "I thought you wouldn't wake up," he said in a concerned tone, then cleared his throat and started walking off. "Go shower." I got up, feeling like I hadn't slept at all. My body was completely exhausted. I felt different, almost like something was missing, a big part of myself. I tried to remember what I even was doing in my parents' house in the first place. Then I remembered setting up my phone to film me. I remembered the shadow, but I couldn't remember why I tried to film it. The footage captured by my flimsy phone camera, with no way to properly enhance it, was useless to me, and it didn't film anything noteworthy. I decided to check my phone and found thousands of your notifications and my post from that Friday, that last post. I don't remember writing. "Jason? A son? I have a son? What?" Questions flooded my mind as I read and reread the words I didn't recall writing. I frantically drove back to my apartment, not really sure what I was looking for. I explored every room and found his, my parents' son's room. Tidy and clean, a couple superhero posters on the walls, a desk with a laptop on it, a bed with Marvel design covers. My head was spinning, a horrible migraine, so I popped a pill. Jason. I had written that I had a son named Jason. I took out my phone and called my dad. "Hey Matt, what's going on? You left so urgently." "Jason, do you remember Jason?" I huffed into the receiver. "Jason? No, can't say I do. Is that a friend of yours? Did something happen?" He replied thoughtfully. Fuck, I thought. "No, never mind, thanks Dad." I hung up before he could say a word more. This clearly fucking says I have a son named Jason. Jason that is in a coma. I went through my phone. There were no pictures of a 14-year-old boy anywhere on there. I looked all around the house. No photo albums, absolutely no evidence of him ever existing here, besides a child's seemingly untouched room. My heart was aching. My head was spinning. The feeling of missing something but not knowing what it is, like it's at the tip of your tongue. It was unbearable. I found a death certificate of my wife and carefully read through. It clearly fucking said that she passed while giving childbirth. So where is the fucking child? Why can't I remember him? I remember her clearly. I rummaged through the house, making a total mess of it all, but in the end I found nothing. No birth certificate, no old documents or teacher's notes or doctor's appointments. I collapsed on the couch in the living room feeling exhausted, my eyes heavy, but something was tugging at the back of my head to not sleep. So I picked up my laptop instead, and that's when I rediscovered the camera footage I talked about last night. I saw him. I clearly saw my son, Jason, who I didn't remember, climbing into my bed at 3 a.m. I saw the shadowy thing or figure, his skeletal hand hovering above him. Then going forward until the morning, I saw myself screaming and shaking him awake, but he never woke up. I rushed to the hospital I thought I might have left him in. I needed to see him. "Jason, I need to see Jason," I said to the receptionist, out of breath. "Jason? I don't think we have a patient named Jason here," the young lady replied, not looking up to me. "A 14-year-old boy in a coma," I questioned. "Oh, his name is Jason. Are you a guardian?" "What?" I whispered under my breath. "I'll need to see some ID, please," she continued. I pulled out my passport and handed it to her. "Do you have his ID as well?" I stuttered. "I don't." "Then I'm afraid I can't let you see him." She finally looked at me, looking into my eyes with this regretful look. "Look, wait, I have proof he is my son. I have videos of him living in my apartment. Let me go get my laptop from my car," I said. And before she replied, I scurried away. And would you fucking believe it? My laptop. It was fucking gone. There was literally no evidence of any break-in into my car. I didn't go back in there. There was no point. I took out my phone and read the post again. I needed to make sure I wasn't going insane. It sure as hell felt like I was. How is it possible to forget you have a child? How is it possible the rest of the world forgets it too? I saw a couple of direct messages. One of them caught my interest. "I know what you're dealing with." It might have as well been a troll, but I had nothing to lose, so I wrote back, "Please help me." I drove back to my apartment thinking of sleep the entire way there, but a voice at the back of my mind kept telling me not to. "Do not sleep," it warned me. "You will regret it." I observed the sorry state of my crazed apartment as I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. I put on the kettle for a coffee and checked the messages. This is an entity straight out of your worst nightmares. It enters your life like a parasite during sleep paralysis and inches closer to you, draining your life force itself as it does so. A following message came in. It preys on you when you are at your most vulnerable, in a state of sleep. The longer it's attached to you, the more tired you will feel every night, and the more life it will drain out of you, until the usual healthy amount of sleep no longer can recharge your body. That's what happened to your son. His energy ran out. He needs more sleep than ever before to be able to wake up, and it won't let him. This thing, it can divide itself, keep its victims paralyzed so they cannot wake up on their own, and once you're weak enough, they can't be woken up by anyone else either. It will continue draining on him until the day he dies. This is absolutely batshit fucking crazy. I recall this shadow, this eerie feeling of someone constantly watching me, and I also wrote about it in my last post. What's it called? I asked. And then right after, and how in the hell did it erase someone from my existence? It's complicated. I'll give you an address. Come there and no matter what, don't sleep. I put in the address into my GPS, and it's 1.5 hour drive. I stocked up on coffee and got into my car straight away. The entire drive there, I felt the presence at the back of my neck, and I could see slight shadows moving at the corner of my eye. But when I looked towards it, everything was as still as ice. After the excruciating 1.5 hours were over, I sent the mystery man a message. I'm here. The address was of an old, almost abandoned looking house. I stepped out of my car and headed to the front door. Before I could knock, it swung open, and an elderly, homeless looking man with a long dirty beard and greyed out hair stood there, looking me up and down. Sir? I asked, and he motioned for me to come in. The inside of the house was nothing like the outside. It was clean and tidy, and every nook and crevice was lit up with blinding light. They can't exist where there's no shadow, he had said, as if expecting my question. Every piece of furniture was made out of see-through glass. There was not a single object that would cast a shadow besides us two, and even then the lights took our shadows out. He motioned for me to sit on the ground, try to straighten out, allow no shadows to be cast by your body. I sat down with my legs stretched out and my arms beside me, and he sat across from me, mirroring my position. He looked at me for a long moment, and I was having a hard time concentrating. The lights were unbearably bright. As I was about to speak, he did so first. It has no name. He looked wishfully to the ceiling, and then continued. There are many that visit you in your sleep, some good, some bad. Sleep paralysis is a logically explained occurrence of your mind being awake but your body not. However, it's not as simple as that. It's not that your mind is awake, your mind is between being awake and being asleep. That in between is where the demons lie in wait, in the darkness. Most can only scare you, they can't cause any harm, but there are few, like the one on your hands, that can cause a lot of hurt. How do you get rid of it? I asked in disbelief. He motioned with his hands to the house. Once he lets himself in, only light can keep him away from you. Do you not sleep? Still being sore from the long drive here, I instinctively crossed my legs. The man looked at me with such intensity that only my father gave me when I misbehaved as a child. Don't make shadows, he warned again, and I uncrossed my legs. I do, he explained. I sleep in bright light. Over time, its connection to you grows faint. It eventually loses interest in you. How did it erase the existence of my son? I asked after a long moment. I can't remember him at all. Jason, was it? He said, with a nod, continuing. That I do not know. The thing doesn't have that kind of power, which means you might have more than one of these things on your hands. His eyes widened as he stood up. I can't tell you anymore. You need to leave now. Why did you even invite me here? It doesn't matter anymore. I answered enough questions. Make sure there's not a single shadow in your home if you wish to survive. And I'm sorry for your son, but it seems like he's too far gone. After he basically threw me out, I sat in my car for a long moment. I decided that I wanted to see my son. I started the car up and drove all the way back and into the hospital's parking lot. By the time I was back, it was 11 p.m. again. A new receptionist sat at the desk, and I tried to explain my situation as logically and best as possible. So please, just let me see him. Even through a window is fine. She looked at me with a conflicted expression. Fine, you only get 5 minutes. She led me to his room, and there he was, the boy from the videos, laying there in darkness. I observed him through the window, wishing to remember all that he once meant to me. A shadow moved at the corner of my eye, and I followed it. A dark silhouette was in the room with my son, as if hiding itself in the corner. Hey! I screamed, and the receptionist came running back. There's someone in there! She rushed into the room and turned on the light, and I was right behind her. There was nothing there. She sighed a sigh of relief. "You need to go, sir." "No, please, you have to believe me. There was a shadow. I saw it, I swear." "Calm down, sir. There's nothing in the room." That's when my emotions burst and I just started crying. The receptionist led me back to the lobby and I just sat down and sobbed. After all my tears dried up, I got back on my phone and looked at the Reddit post again. Then I decided to ask for help with an update. If anyone knows how to make the world remember, how to make myself remember his existence, please, for the love of God, tell me. I can see the nurses sharing hushed whispers as I sit here in the lobby writing this. Chances are they'll kick me out, or worse yet, lock me up. My name is Matt. If it takes me, please don't forget me, like I forgot him. I want to remember. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed today's story. This story is read with permission from the author. You can find their name and link to the story down below. If you would like to submit a story to be read, you can email me at nyxnecromedia@gmail.com. We also have a subreddit where you can submit stories. You can find the link below. We'll be back soon with more scary stories.